Abhinay or similarly Ayush, any of those alumni in a completely one-on-one setting. Again, this is a completely free of cost service that we are offering from Scalar. This is not a sales call, and best part is that again reiterating the fact there won't be any sort of mediator between you or similarly Abhinay. So in the meanwhile, just like we are conversating in this particular session here, you can also do the same in a similar sort of format with Abhinay or Ayush, stating all your concerns, your queries, asking anything about your salary progressions, career progression, salary hikes, mastering those difficult interviews and whatnot. So feel free to opt in yes onto this poll. Again, we will try to get back to you within 48 hours. So again, don't miss out on this opportunity, guys, because if we were in your place, if you get a free of cost thing, definitely this will definitely help you to get a hold of your career fruitfully. Yes. Thank you so much once again. Now let me quickly share all the resources so that you are not missing out on anything important. So we have got a free class coming in for Anshuman Singh. For those of you who don't know about Anshuman, he is currently the co-founder of Scalar Academy and also being one of the founding members when it comes to Facebook Messenger app as well. So this is a very short and dynamic session consisting of very less number of people, wherein we will try to address as many as questions as possible. So feel free to register for this particular event. So yeah, that is how it goes. Sorry. Again, Abdul, if you want to understand the course duration and everything, if you have clicked on yes onto the callback poll, definitely the career counseling team will get back to you shortly and help you with all those concerns addressed in a one-on-one format. Now, if you have any questions regarding which you want to address the alum team here, this is the type form where you can just type in all your concerns right away. Satish, please kindly don't spam. We will help you with the all those things. Some of you who are willing to join the Discord and Telegram channels. So this is the particular link for the same. So in terms of Discord channel, we share in all the masterclass notes, the different events take part there as well. So feel free to join in those communities from Scalar. And for the people who were asking about where can I get the notes, where can I get all these codes and whatnot. So I'm just pinning in the WhatsApp group link for all of you. If anyone of you haven't joined the WhatsApp group link, so this is the same place wherein you have been receiving all the communication for this masterclass. So yes, just feel free to join in right away so that you're not missing out on anything important. Now coming, some of you as you are asking about the certificates, let me also pin that for you. Just a disclaimer, you won't be able to download the certificate at this particular junction because this masterclass is still live. You'd be facing certain issues. So once the masterclass is getting ended for all of you, then only you will be able to download the certificate by clicking on this link. Okay, that's the thing I just want to mention to all of you. Cool. I believe Ayush, we are done here sharing all the resources. You can just take it to the second leg of the session.
Thank you, Swarna, for addressing all those questions. Thank you guys for your participation. For those who answered the poll, and I think you guys are full of energy, enthusiasm, and interacting with each other. I really like the energy. That is helping me to continue with full enthusiasm. All right. So coming back to the code, you guys can see the browser, right, where we have the electronics and the different products which are visible. Okay. Can I get a thumbs up if you can see? Okay. I'll come to that, Sridhar. Okay, I got your point. I'll come to that. Cool. So now let's see. Let's understand one thing. Now, it does not matter what category I am selecting. My products are not changing, right? My products are not changing because I have hard coded this electronic. Correct? Now understand this. This is hard coded, but generally what I want in my product list is I want a selected category here so that I can fetch data for that selected category. Isn't it? And similarly, my header also needs selected category so that I can style them differently. Now do you see a problem statement here? There are two components which needs the same selected category state. Correct? Now what happens? Now tell me what used to happen if you and your brother or your sister were fighting for the same toy in your childhood. right? Our mom would come, right? She will take away the toy and find out a very amicable way to handle it. Either she will scold both of us, nobody will get it, or she will find like you will play sometimes for 5 minutes, you play sometimes for 5 minutes. Correct? Similarly, here in this case also, when two or more components they need the same state, what do? We lift the state to their common parent. This is a very, very important concept in React. Did everybody get that? My product list, my header, both needs the selected category. So we will have to lift them to their common parent. What is the common parent for product list and header? Let's see the code and tell me. In my app.js, what is the common parent for header and product? It is app, right? It is the app component. So what we'll do is, we'll copy this selected category which both of my children needs, cut it from here, save it. In my app.js, I will move this. Okay, so I will move it here. Okay, and now how do I pass it? I pass it via props. Okay, so I say selected category is equals to selected category, set selected category is equals to set selected category. Similarly, in my product list, I only need the selected category to fetch data for that category. So I will just pass selected category here. Okay. Of course, I think I'll need use. I will have to import. Okay, import use state from React. Right now, I have to start accepting this, guys. In my child header, I will accept both set selected category and selected category. In my product list, I will also now accept selected category, which I am passing from my parent. Selected category. Okay, let's see this. Our header is still working correctly. Now let's see how to make change to this. Now I want to change this URL dynamically, and whatever selected categories is there, I want to add it to this URL. Can you explain again what Shivani, Padla and Parmar, what do you want me to explain? I will clear that, Sanya. Okay, I'll clear that. Could you please open your network? I'll clear all the multiple requests. Thanks. Okay. Answer this question. How do I make this string dynamic? I will have to pass the selected category using template literals. Cool. So what I do, instead of hard coding this, I will pass in the variable selected category. Alright. Now what happens, you see. Now I am in clothing women, so I am fetching women products. When I am clothing men, I am getting men data. When I am on jewelry, I am getting jewelry data. But you see some flickering is happening. Our UI is getting crazy, right? Although it is fetching the data, right? Although it is fetching the data, but some flickering is happening. It is going a little crazy here and there. So why that is happening is, remember what we said for the use effect? That every time this component renders, this piece of code is executed again and again. Correct? But we don't want that to happen. Correct? So let's fix that. For header, I want this piece of code to be run only once because I need header data just once. So there is a provision to add dependency array. Okay? If I add an empty array, what this means is that I have to fetch data only once. This is like setting an alarm, one-time alarm. Maybe you want to do some homework assignment, you're setting alarm, one-time alarm. Similarly, in this header, I want that once you are done loading, fetch this data at once. For product list, if I add this empty dependency array, let's see what happens. Now I am getting this jewelry. I clicked on clothing. Now do you notice what is happening? Now the data is not getting updated. Can somebody tell me why this is not getting updated? Can somebody help answer why this is not getting updated? Because what we have done is we have given empty array. What basically we are saying is run this piece of code only once, but we don't want that. What we want is every time my category changes, please run this code. Okay? Now when we click on jewelry, now you see jewelry data. Now when you click on clothing, you see clothing data. Now when you click on clothing women, you see women data. Everybody happy? Everybody comfortable? What is happening? Okay? Now what we can do is, this is still not looking very good because there's a bit of a delay, right? So what we can generally have to do is we can add some sort of a loading. Yeah, it is responding slow because I have simulated a network response. Okay. Can you please explain dependency array? Dependency array, guys, is something like for use effect there's a provision. When is use effect used? Use effect is used to run a piece of code after the component has done rendering. Okay? But if we do not give this, every time this component renders, and when a component will render whenever the state is updating. Okay, I'll explain that again in detail. Okay, let me just do the loading thing and I will tie up everything. Images are loading because I have this, right? This fake store API has image URL basically. Okay, image URL to a product. Alright, so let me add a loading and I will explain how this use effect and everything is working. So let's say I am creating a loading state. Again, why I need a loading state? Because I will capture it in a variable and update this variable. And updating this variable will update my UI. So initially, let's say I don't want any loading to show. And if loading is true, just stay with me guys for like 5 minutes. I will complete this code and I will help you with everything. Okay. If the loading is true, what I want to do basically is show a loading indicator. Alright? Everybody following, right? What I want to do here is I want to return a div. Alright, and for now just let's say I'm saying loading, something like that to indicate loading. And I think I had a class name of loading here. Alright. Now see what's happening. I have a state variable and I need to update the variable. Whenever my data fetching begins, I want to set my loading to true. Whenever the data fetch has ended, I want to set my loading to false. So I will put it inside curly braces because I want to write multiple statements. So I will say set loading to false. After you have fetched the data, set loading to false. And when you are starting with the data fetch, set the loading to true. Let's see how this changes things, guys. Now when I click on electronics, did you notice the loading indicator? Do you notice the loading indicator? Now let's walk through what is happening basically. Understand, pay full attention. Now everything will be clear. How use effect and use state is playing together to make this happen. Understand and you will be sorted. See what is happening. I have the state data of loading. Okay. When the use effect, when this runs, when the React has rendered the product list, basically when app has called product list here, it renders the product list component. And when the component is rendered, the code inside the use effect runs. Okay. What we are doing here is, we are at the first line, we are setting the load to true. So this loading state becomes true. Initially it was false. We are setting it to true. As soon as we are updating a state data, the component will raise its hand. Hey React, something has changed. Please render me again. Repeating, whenever the state data changes, the component will raise its hand, will say, hey, render me again. React will say, okay, I will render you again. Now when the component renders, the value of loading is true. Okay. So this loading is true. That is why this markup is returned and we see a loading indicator. Okay. When the data fetch is complete, you are setting the loading to false. So we are updating the state again. So what will happen? Again, the component will raise the hand. Hey, my value has changed. Now when React will render this again with loading as false, this markup will not run, but this markup will run. Does this make sense to everybody in the class? How both things are playing together and making this work for you? Pakka? I'll sorry about the fireworks. I think it comes automatically. I'll repeat again, guys. If towards the end of the class, I don't want to hold up everyone, right? If you are not comfortable, we can discuss it at the end of the class. Okay. All right. So let's see. This is fine. We are getting some loading indicator, but let's say that maybe you're feeling a little fancy. Okay. And there's something called as shimmering effect, and I have a component here. Basically, you can get something similar from the internet also. So what I'll do is, instead of this loading thing, right, I'll show you ki maybe you can have a spinner also. You can have some animated thing for to show the loading effect. So what I'll do is, I'll say array, take an array of 6 and use the fill method. Okay. Okay, sorry. I think I will need to first have a div. Alright, with class name of products. And here I will have some animation kind of a thing. Okay. So I'll say array, take array of 6. Just use the fill method and then loop over the empty array. Okay. What I want is for item.index, I want you to return shimmer card component that I have created earlier. Okay. Let's see what this will do. Now you notice the shimmering effect. Okay. Oh, this one does not take time. But did you notice that effect? That slide kind of a effect of shimmering, right? You can have some custom animations also. These things you can get from internet. There are libraries which does something similar. But the idea that I'm trying to convey here, guys, is it is pretty simple. Once you understand the basics, once you understand how things are working together, you can create something as beautiful as this. What we spent like an hour, right? 1.5 hours to create this. It's easy peasy, correct? As Harisha is saying. Alright, so this is fine. Now what we want is, we want to be able, okay, we don't have dollars, so let me add dollars. Go to product card, maybe let's add some dollar. And now we have dollars in our products. Wonderful. Now what I want is, I want to be able to click on this button and then update my cart. You can use spinner function and all those things, right? Now let's come to our iPad, and I want to discuss one interesting thing again. Now let's focus here, guys. Pay complete attention. Very important concept coming your way. So we have our app. Currently how the structure looks is, we have our app, we have our header, okay, we have a product list, and then we have a product body. What do we have? We have a product card. Okay, inside the product card we have a add to cart. This add to cart that you see, this add to cart button that you see, guys, is also a component, right? This is also a component. I also have a placeholder markup over here, right? So this button that you see, that also is a component. So what we are trying to do is, now understand very important concept. Please do not get distracted, right? So now what we want is, we want to have a cart state so that I can display my cart value over here. Okay, I need a cart state for my header component. I need a cart state for my add to cart button. Why do I need? Because when I click on add to cart button, I want to update this cart state. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, repeating again. What I'm saying is, now how the structure looks is, we have an app, We have a header component, we have a product list, we have a product card. Inside the product card, we have add to cart. Okay, so now what we want, the problem statement, focus on the problem statement. Now we have a cart state that I want for my header, because I want to show the item count in my header, correct? This is where I want to show the number of items in my cart. Okay. Similarly, I want my cart state, access to my cart state in my add to cart button. Why do I want? Because when I click on that button, I want the cart to be updated. Do you get the problem statement? Like, or the scenario, basically what we want. Now understand what we have learned so far. We learned that whenever two or more components, they need the same state, what do? We lift the state up. Right? That is what we learned. So, what is the common parent for add to cart and header? What is the common parent for add to cart and header? App, correct? So, let's say I am updating my state to app, like how I had earlier. But now understand what will happen. I will, because I want access to my cart in the header, I will pass from my app, I will pass it to header. But understand this is where the problem statement before you guys. I want my cart state in add to cart. So from my app, I will pass it to product list. From my product list, I will pass it to product card. From my product card, I will pass it to add to cart. Even though these two guys, they have no relevance. They do not want this cart state, but they will have to accept so that they can pass it to their child component. Correct? Before we arrive at a solution, does everybody get the problem? What are we trying to discuss? So what basically we are trying to do, guys, is we are forcefully drilling the props through our various layers so that it can reach a deeply nested component. This situation, this pattern is called as most of you have been already pointing out, is called as props drilling. Right? Because we are drilling the props unnecessarily through various layers so that it can reach a deeply nested component. What is the solution? Some of you have already pointed out to me. There are different ways to solve this. What problem? What is the solution that React gives? Let's understand that. React gives us something called as context API. Okay? What is this context API? Again, understand context in a very intuitive manner. Basically, what this context does is it kind of creates like a data layer around all your component, right? So basically, now if I have my app, if I have my header, right? If I have my product list, if I have a product card, and I have a add to cart. What this context will do is it will create like a layer or a wrapper around this entire component tree. Okay? And there will be a provider which will provide you all the resource that all my components might need, right? And these components now can individually become consumers. So now what changes? Now if my header needs some data, it can just go and connect to this data layer and just pull the data. This add to component, if it needs the data, it will just connect to this layer and pull the data. So what we did, we avoided this passing of props, right? Did you guys get the intuition behind the solution? It is very easy to figure out what is context. It does this, it does that. But understanding the problem statement and how React team had solved this, where your engineers had, and then try to figure out how things have been solved. So there are some folks who are asking to repeat, so just repeating again. Understand it in this way. So in my hometown, my grandfather built a house. Okay? So he lived in that house. He passed on that house to my dad. My dad also lived in that house. My dad passed on the house to me. I am also living in that house. I will pass the house to my future generation. So if in the hierarchy one of them becomes a provider, then no matter how deep they are in that lineage, right, they will be able to have access to that resource. Right? Similarly, this what this context does is it creates a layer so that one of them will become a provider. Okay, and now because we wanted to pass the card state, right? So this provider will pass the card state. It will make it available like a global data or a wrapper layer. Okay, and if my header needs the data, it will connect to the layer and pull the data. If my add to cart components need the data, it will connect to the layer and pull the data. Okay, this is how context is solving the problem of props drilling. Okay, let's see it in the code. Okay, then maybe you'll be able to appreciate more. All right. You guys are making me talk, but I appreciate. Please do ask, right, whenever you feel they're missing something. So generally, there's some of you are mentioning about Redux and things like that. Yes, in actual production application, we do use Redux. And if you guys stay till the end, maybe if you have some time, I'll quickly discuss Redux also. Okay. So let us just quickly wind up this discussion. All right. Coming back to our code. So in the product card, let us pass the product. Okay. Okay, and our add to cart accepts the product. So let me first create the context API or the layer that I'm talking about. Okay. So what do we do is, what inside my source, generally we keep our context in a separate folder. So I will create a context folder. And since I want to create a context for cart, I'm just going to name this cart.js. And now creating this context is very simple, guys. Okay. So we use two things which React provides: create context for creating the context and use context to read the context. I need two things: creation and reading the context. Okay. And how do we initialize the context? As simple as just calling the method. Give it a name and call the method. You're done. How do I read it? So I will say I will basically create a function, reusable function, and I will say use context and pass the context that was created. This is how you read the context. Okay. And I've just created a reusable function because I'm exporting it also, because multiple components will now need to read from the context. So instead of having this piece of code everywhere, I will create a reusable function, a utility function, and just export it. Okay. And by the way, if you pay close attention, what we just actually created is a function which makes use of inbuilt React hook. This is what is called as a custom hook. Okay. So if you see, it's nothing fancy. It is just any other function which internally uses inbuilt hooks. That is what custom hooks are. So it can be as simple as just one liner. Okay. All right. So moving forward, let me create the grandfather, the provider. Okay. So we'll say function. Let's have cart context provider. Okay. And it will provide resource to all its children. I will quickly discuss what this children is. Okay. And return what I want to return. We will use this cart context provider, and we'll pass something. Okay. This will have the children. Close it. Let's say for now I'm just passing name equals to React. Just some simple basic thing. Okay. And then from this file I will export default my cart context provider. So it's just like a wrapper function that I've created. This wrapper function will wrap everything wherever I need access to this global data layer. Okay, I'll just plug it into my application and then maybe you guys will appreciate more. So in my app.js, I import this context. Pay full focus. If you lose, maybe you will be able to miss it. So instead of maybe typing, chatting, just hold on and listen very, very carefully. Okay. So what I'll do is I will wrap entire thing, my entire application, okay, inside this card context provider. Cutting it here, and this is where my app ends. Okay, and now all of this, guys, everything inside this is my children, which has access to the resource that I created in my context. What did I create in my context? For now, I just pass this value, React. So React is like a resource which all of my children now should have access to. Let's see that. Maybe you don't believe me. How is it possible? Just in 2 lines of code, you are saying that everything will be accessible. Let's see it. Okay, so in my header also is a child component, right? So I will say const data. I will say use card context. Okay, data, let's not have data because data is already declared. Use cast context, let's say console.log card and give it a card. Now, if you remember what this use card context is, this is the reusable function which helps us read from the context, right? So let's see it is reading from the context, saving it. Let's console log. Now, do you see, guys, something? Do you see this? This name React is now available to us. We passed it in the grandfather or the wrapper component. We passed this name React in card.js. We provided this value. And now everything inside this context provider is my children, right? And they can have access to this resource. How they can access? As simple as just using this reusable function that we have created. It returns me an object and I have access to this card. Did everybody get this? Or the extension, if you guys are wondering what this extension is, this is the GitHub Copilot. It just helps me write lesser code at it. Please repeat, please repeat, please repeat. Okay, repeating again, but understand that we are coming close to our end of the session, so I want to conclude this. But anyways, repeating again, yes. I will come to that if I get time. I will come to that point why it is printing so many times. But let's understand the basic. What is happening? We discussed, right, that if I need the same state in my multiple component, what I can do is I can create a global data layer. Everybody clear about this thing? That we need a global data layer, right? Step 1 is that. Cool. So what do is, in our code, we created this global data layer, card context. How do we create this? React provides a method to create the context. Okay. What is the use of this? This context now can become a provider. Okay. This context can become a provider and pass certain resources. Right now we're just passing an object, but we can pass anything, right, to our child component. So we are passing this child component. And now what we are doing is, in our app.js, all the child component to which we want to have access to this global data layer, basically we are wrapping it. You see, right? I have wrapped my entire application in this card context provider. So my entire application is now children, right? Like grandfather, father, myself, my future generation. So that is how this card context is like a wrapper or a grandfather who is providing all the resource. Now all of the components that are there inside this will have access to whatever we are passing. So that is what I tested. In my header, since this is also a child component, I am using use card context. What is this use card context doing? It is calling the use context, which is a method provided by React to read from the context, right? this part. Now we are establishing the connection between the component and the global data layer. Is this step clear? Step 1, global data layer. Step 2, creating the resource. Step 3, now connecting to that global data layer. Alright, this is what we are doing now. So now we have access to this. We are great. Now let's come to the problem statement that we were discussing. I want to update my cart and I want to have access to my cart state. Okay, so let's quickly create the cart state and try to add items to the cart. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll create a state, cart state here. Const cart set cart. Okay, we'll use the same use state, and instead of empty or array, I'll say empty object. I just want an initial cart to be an empty object. Okay. Alright. Now what I want to do, I want to have two methods also to update my cart. I will say const add to cart. Okay. Basically, you take a value and let's leave it empty for now. Remove from cart. Okay. And what instead of this, now I'll pass my cart. I'll pass add to cart. And I'll pass remove from cart. Now let's see what changes. Come to header. Now do you see, guys? Now you see cart, add to cart and remove from cart. What we have passed in my cart context. Correct? Now any component which reads from this context can read from the cart, can add to cart or can remove from cart. Okay? So very quickly, I just want to cover few quick things. I don't want you to leave it in midway. So let's complete the code. Okay. Alright. I will be switching gears and maybe going a little fast. Okay. So help me if you are able to follow along. What we'll do is add to cart. We'll accept the product. Okay. And I will just update my cart. How do I update? I'll say const new cart is equals to, I will destructure the original state. I'll come to that. Why do we need to spread this? Basically, I'm creating a clone of previous cart. I'll come to that. Why do we need? Just give me a moment. Just let me write this code very quickly. And first I have to set the cart, right? I missed that. In my add to cart, I will be trying to set the cart. But I will not be setting the cart directly. I will be using this callback way of updating the state. Okay? So, and I'll come explain this code. Just let me complete this part, okay? This is cloning the previous state. Just hold on to, guys, and maybe it will become evident to you. But okay, let me just complete if you guys are not following along. We have seen ways in which we can directly update the state, right? Directly update the state. We saw set data. In my product list also, I saw that how we can update the state directly. This is fine. But there are often situations when you cannot just have the direct value over here. You cannot basically say something like new state, your new value. Why? Because when the new value of your state depends upon the previous value, then you have to use this callback way of updating the state. Okay? Because understand this, whenever you're trying to add something, let's say you're trying to add this hard disk. Now, it will depend whether this hard disk is already in your cart. If it is already in the cart, then your quantity will change to 2, isn't it? If it is not in the cart, then this add to cart button will go away and the quantity becomes 1. Are you following along, guys? Can I get a thumbs up? Like, why we are doing this? Because your new version of the state depends upon what is there in my previous cart, isn't it? That is why we are doing this. Okay, cool. I'll explain this to all those who are new. Just let me complete this piece of thing really quickly. So I'm cloning this, and I'm saying if my previous cart already has the product, okay, then what do you do is, if my new cart, if my previous cart already has the product, then I will pull the product first. I will say cost new product and pull out the pull out the product from the cart, okay, and then update the product quantity by 1. Let's say you already purchased a t-shirt, okay, and then you click on the plus button again. You have clicked on add to cart again. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling out that t-shirt from the cart. Whatever is the previous quantity, I'm updating it by 1. Okay. But let's say if that item is not in the cart, then I will just simply have new cart, product ID, and I will just make the quantity as 1. Okay. And after all this dance and drama is done, I will return my new cart. Because ultimately that is the state value which I am passing to my set card. Okay, so this callback was written to fetch the previous card state and then ultimately return the updated state. So 2 things to note. We will not update the state directly here. Why? Because we need to check what is in the previous state. Our next state depends upon what was there already in the cart. Second, we are cloning before updating. Why is this cloning important? Right? Why is this cloning important? Basically, when we clone, and this is again JavaScript concept, whenever we clone an object, we change the object memory reference. Whenever we clone, we change the object's memory reference. So this is like giving a new label now. And React is very smart. It keeps a watch on these labels. And when it sees a new label, it knows that something has changed and I need to update my UI again. You guys get this? Why this cloning is important? Because it changes the reference. It is like giving a new label this. Hey, can I get a thumbs up, guys, if you guys are following along? I am not sure. Can I get a more emphatic thumbs up? Wonderful, wonderful. Some of you I know, I know it might be a little overwhelming, but maybe if you go over this a little more again, maybe you'll follow along. Coming back to this. Let's complete this. Okay, so let me save some time by similarly copying this this is for add to cart, right? Similarly for remove to cart, what I'll do is I'll just quickly write the code. Okay, and same philosophy here also, guys. We'll update the cart, okay, and we'll read from the previous value of the cart. If the item does not exist in the cart and you're trying to remove the item, it does not make sense. I will return the previous cart. I will make no changes to my state. But if the item is there in the cart and the quantity is 1 and you're trying to remove it, what will happen? You just remove that item from the cart, correct? But let's say maybe there are your purchase the item, the quantity is 4 or 5 and we're trying to remove it, then we'll just decrease the quantity by 1, like how we have done. Okay. So if else, let's see where it is going wrong. There seems to be something wrong with set cart is here. Okay, and I think maybe one extra bracket. Alright, so now what we'll do is we will just save it. Let's just plug everything. Okay, let's just plug everything. We're already passing all these methods in our context. Now let's use it in the add to cart. Okay. What we'll do is, let me give you a quick walkthrough of add to cart. We have a markup here. Currently we have this variable which is false. And basically what I'm saying is if the product is not in the cart, and just giving it initial value of false. So if the item is not in the cart, show me the add to cart button, which we are seeing here now. Because these items are not in the cart, I'm seeing add to cart button. But later, if the item is already in the cart, then I'll give an option of minus, plus, and then the quantity itself. Okay, this is the reference, this is the markup that I've created. Let's see this. And again, we'll tie up everything together. What we'll do is, we'll pull up the values from the context. Okay? We'll make use of the use cart context again. Use cart context. Okay, and this context we know we are passing the cart, we are passing add to cart, and we are passing remove from cart. Remove from cart. Alright? Okay? Now product in cart will depend upon if my cart already has this product or not. Alright? In my handle add, all I need to do is just call the add to cart and pass the product. In my handle remove, all I need to do is remove from cart and pass the product. Saving it. This is all that we need to do. But let's see this. Let's see if it is working. So I'm clicking. Now you see the value is changing. Okay, something is going wrong with our cart. Let's see. Cart value is there if the item already exists in the product. Destructure that, and I think I'm doing it again. Basically, and I'll just say product dot item ka quantity is equals to new product. Okay. Let me refresh. Start again. Add to cart 1 2. Add to cart 1 2. Add to cart 1 2. Add to cart. If I remove this, the value changes back to add to cart button. Notice? Correct? Following along? Enjoying this? Now, but our cart value is not updating, right? Our cart value is not updating. So let's also start reading, correct? We are already passing the cart here. We know that our context is returning the cart. So what I'll do is, instead of hard coding 0, okay, I will maybe have a function total, not this. I'll have a total. Let me define a total here. Total function. Const total is a function, and I will say let count is equals to 0. And then I will loop over my cart items for const keep cart. Yes, wonderful. Basically keep on adding the quantity and ultimately return the count. Okay. Now when we add, you notice your cart values are changed. Let's add some jewelry. Let's add some clothing for women, maybe for your friends or girlfriends or wife. Let's add some clothing for men. Cart dot length will only give you the. So let me just show you this. Cart dot length. So one of you said that. What if I use cart dot length? So you can use that, but I'll show you the difference. The problem that will come. Object dot keys, cart, and then you say cart dot length. So what will happen is, if I refresh, this will update. This will update, but if I click on this, then you see the count will not change because you're not basically adding new items, right? Yeah, I'm really apologize if you're not able to understand as beginners. I tried to break down as much as possible. Understand that in the 3 hours, right? I can only give you intuition. I can give you how the process works. If you're able to understand how it works at a high level, then you're in a good shape. Of course, you will need to see the code. You need to practice. Right? It will not even come automatically to you. Correct? So, but I hopefully for those who have some understanding of JavaScript, for them, I hope this would have been little helpful. Okay? So, cool, guys. I'll just take a little quick break. So, if you guys stay to the end, I'll if you want some more details, I'll give you. But let's just check, and I would quickly launch one more poll. I see a lot of questions. I apologize, I was not able to answer all of that because there was a lot of students in the class, right? Let me launch this poll quickly. And if you want to know about anything like based on whatever we have discussed in this masterclass, if you want to understand how the live classes will look like, what kind of help and support and guidance you will expect, if you want to have any answer around those, please click on this poll and then we can take all those questions and more details.
अगर आप इसे हर बार कर सकते हैं तो ये बहुत अच्छा है
Right,
अगर आप
so
नहीं
stay
कर
till
सकते
the
कम
end.
से कम
If you guys are there,
अपने आप को
maybe
याद
I'll
दिलाएं
give
कि
you
आप
some
नश्वर
more
हैं
idea about
आप
a
अमर
little
नहीं
bit about
हैं आप नश्वर
redux.
हैं
We can
अगर आप
talk
जानते
about
हैं
that.
कि आप
Let's
नश्वर
see.
हैं तो अचानक आप कुछ दिनों
So
में
Swarna,
आपके
again,
पास
help me
बेकार की
with
बकवास
anything.
करने का
Is there
समय
any
नहीं होगा
questions or
आप सिर्फ
any
वही करेंगे जो आपके जीवन
thing
के लिए
that we
वाकई
should
मायने रखता
take
है
up?
आपके पास
Yeah,
किसी के
so
साथ
right
कोई
after the
बकवास करने
poll
का समय
ends
नहीं
for
है
all of you guys, Ayush, let's go with the feedback polls so that we can understand the feedback perspective from the learner's point of view as well. Then at the end, you can also take some awarded questions so that the learners are also understanding the like we can also fetch out some of the most important questions as well. Thank you so much guys for participating in the poll. Cool. So guys, we'll be having a series of 4 polls coming on your screen right now. It would be based upon the overall. Second would be in terms of pace. Third would be in terms of engagement, and the fourth would be in terms of content. So launching the first poll for all of you guys. How do you rate overall learning experience in this masterclass? So ensure that everyone is participating on the poll because see guys, we made a lot of effort to organize this sort of masterclasses for all of you guys. So kindly take some of your time. I believe that would be feasible for your end as well because this is very important for us and our team to evaluate how well was the masterclass being delivered to all of you here. I can see only around 405 responses, guys. It's around 1200 people along with us. Want maximum participation in this so that you can understand your valuable feedback. How was the session? Whether is there any areas to improve or not? So this is how it goes for all of you. So if you loved it, again rate it accordingly. Give it a 10 out of 10 or whatever suits you. Just ensure that you are participating fluently. Awesome. Launching the second poll for all of you guys. How do you rate the pace of teaching in this masterclass? So if you felt it was perfect, again rate it accordingly. 5 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. Again guys, we want, it's not even 50% of the people participating in the polls. Thanks for the kind words, Pranab. Again, we would love to encourage all of the people giving out that response in terms of these polls. That would help us for sure.
Right, guys. I would want to see how you guys felt about like last 2 hours. I've been speaking, trying to help you. So just put on your feedback, however you guys felt about this.
Cool. Again, guys, great to see so many lovely responses coming up on the chat section. But again, reiterating, just ensure that you are engaging in these polls. Launching the third poll for all of you guys. Did you find this masterclass engaging or not? So again, if you felt it was absolutely perfect for all of you, wherein it was worthwhile your time here, spending 2.5 hours understanding the nitty-gritties altogether, feel free to opt in whatever particular option that you want to go for and click on the submit button to ensure your response is being recorded as well. So it's around again 1200 people along with us. Come on guys, we want more and more maximum participation because again this is how we will do the analysis from your end. Just reiterating the fact. Sahil, unfortunately, the recordings would be only shared to the scaled enrolled learners only, just for your reference. Cool. Launching the last and the final feedback poll for all of you guys. How do you rate the contents of this masterclass? Again, if you felt it was perfect, give it a 5 out of 5 or rate it accordingly. Thank you, Gangi. Thank you, other people who like the chat is going absolutely crazy right now, so it's very difficult to catch up with everyone's name. Yes, everything would be shared, Pragati. We would be sharing in all the resources in the WhatsApp group if you have joined in earlier. So yeah, that is where we will be sharing in all the notes and the GitHub link. Everything would be shared. Pavan, right after the session ends, you would be able to download the certificate. That is how it goes. So last few seconds, guys, before the poll ends for all of you. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Over to you. Ayush, you can just take some of the voted questions. So, guys, just a fair suggestion from my end. Just take 1 minute of your time. Just quickly jump into the questions tab and quickly upvote all the questions that you find it relevant, so that it makes the job more easy when it comes to Ayush to take some of the most important ones. I believe that would help you, Ayush, for sure.
Definitely. Alright guys, so thank you for the participation, right? So let me just quickly complete. There's one question which came up, like why the network calls are happening multiple times, correct? So one thing that happens in the React dev environment is that React basically advocates us to create pure functions, to create pure rendering functions. So whatever is returning, right? Basically, this should be pure. What do I mean by pure? Every time you pass some same input, you should expect the same output. That is basically simple at what pure function means. And how how React enforces that is, it will basically the development environment, it will render your component twice, right? To make sure that by rendering twice, something unexpected is not happening. That is why you see more than one network calls. Okay, for the same time. All right, so let's, since you guys were talking about Redux, just let me, Axios and Fetch, right? Basically, Fetch is what I had used here. Axios also you can use, it's a library which helps you make network calls. Okay, so tell me, we have like 10 minutes. Give me thumbs up if you want Redux, or give me a thumbs down if you want backend connection. Thumbs down for backend, thumbs up for Redux. Both again. I wish I could continue like this. If we use content, then we require to keep markups within the provider, whereas recoil provides a better way. That's a great fair point, Ankit. Yeah, that's true. I was teaching the React way of handling things. Alright, so I think it's almost 50-50%. What I'll do is I'll cover Redux a bit, and then we'll switch to see how to maybe connect back and also. Those who want to continue, maybe we can extend this by like 10 minutes more and to cover both of the things. Okay. All right. So what I want to do is Redux, right? So let's quickly understand the concept of Redux, and then we'll see how to integrate it. Right. So let's say in Redux, right? We saw how context you can update and manage your states. Same thing Redux does it, but in a more organized, in a more predictable manner. Okay, so Redux follows couple of principles, which is single source of truth. Okay, what does it mean? Have one place where you are maintaining all your data. Like when you are in a restaurant, right? There is an order book which person at the reception at the counter will maintain. Every dish that you order will go in that order book, right? So that's the one place where everything is maintained. Similarly, Redux has this one store where it maintains all the state. There's something called as actions. Using actions, we update our state, right? When customers order something, waiter will write down like what the dish they're ordering, like cook pasta or prepare salad, which are the instructions to the kitchen, right? And finally, we have reducers, which again, if we continue with the restaurant analogy, this reducer becomes the actual kitchen, where based on what was ordered, right, your dish is prepared. Order book. Correct? Right? So whatever action the waiter takes to the kitchen, based on that a dish is prepared, the order book is updated, and the dish is served. So this becomes like a very predictable way of managing your state. Let's look at the flow, how the flow looks like. Okay, so on the UI side, Basically, you trigger an event, or the technical term is you dispatch an event. Okay, this event ultimately reaches our store. This reaches our store. Okay, store has lot of business logic, or what we can call them as multiple reducers, where your logic on how to update the state is written. Okay, and you also have the current state. So whenever a new action comes, what happens? Your current state gets and your action, sorry, your current state and your action together, your action and your current state, they go to the reducer, and then reducer will return you an updated state on the UI. Updated state. And what happens? Once your state is updated, what happens? Your component will raise hand, hey React, something changed, render me again. This is the flow in which your Redux operates. Okay? So just quickly connecting everything from our code standpoint, and let me put my charger. Okay, so let's quickly come here. And so I have a store folder where I have this index. I'm using the Redux toolkit. This is one of the way to basically toolkit is a new way, standard way to now manage state using Redux. We take this configure store, which is used to create your the one single source of truth, and we have this reducer, and basically like how we discussed, right? React will help break your UI into individual pieces. Your Redux says that break your state into individual, exhaustive, mutually exclusive states. So your entire application can have a cart state, a category state, a booking state, and a person state, right? Multiple states. So you accordingly you break your UI into individual state slices. Okay. Similarly, we have this cart state. All right, and then what we do is in our cart, correct? In our cart, how do you create that portion of the state? You use the create slice method from Redux toolkit. You give it a name, initial value of state, and these are the kitchen analogy, right? This is the reducer which contains the logic how to update your state, right? And if you notice closely, this is the same way. This is the same code that we had written for context, correct? We updated the state in the context, and here we are using reducers to update the context. Same add to cart, remove from cart. We are exporting these actions, and we are exporting the reducer. Okay. So now how do we quickly do this? If you have to figure out like how to integrate all of this code, let me quickly show this to you. So what I'll do is I need a couple of things, guys. I will need import from React Redux. This is again a package that you have to install. React Redux, and from React Redux I will need a provider. Similar to how context we needed a provider, here also the same concepts apply. You will need a provider, right? And you will need to import the store from what we created over here. Sorry, we created store in index.js, right? We exported the store here. So we will just, okay, let me import store from /store. That is all you need to do. Okay, we'll get the store. And like how we had wrapped everything in our context, similarly we'll wrap everything in provider this time. Okay, and we'll pass the store value, the store single source of truth that we have created, and wrap all our components that we want inside this provider. The pattern remains the same, guys. That is why I was telling you focus on the basics. if you know the basic, it is easy to migrate to any other technology. Okay, so now let's see how to read from this. Saving it in header, how do we read this? Instead of reading from the context, I'm gonna read from the Redux store. So how do we read this hook again? Use selector, and what it says is take the entire state and return me only the cart slice. You see the reuse selector got auto imported from React Redux. Okay, so this is the only change that we need to do for header component. And for add to cart, where did that go? For add to cart again, we'll follow almost the same approach. All right, we will say const cart, use selector, take the entire state and return me only the cart piece of the entire state. Okay, and I will along with use selector, I will also need a dispatch method. Why we need dispatch, I'll tell you. Okay, and I will need those actions also. Add to cart and add to cart, remove from cart, but not from context. Sorry, I think I had to import this. Import this action. I will import add to cart from store cart, right? Because if you remember, I exported the actions from here, right? Sorry, not this one. I exported the actions here, which I'm importing again. Okay, so I'm importing these two actions. Now what I'll need to do, I'll just need to dispatch these actions. Cost dispatches, again use dispatches, one such method, one such hook that is available from React Redux. Why is dispatching important, guys? If you remember, right, in the olden times when kings used to declare wars, they would dispatch their messenger with the message, isn't it? Like, I want to conquer and fight with your kingdom and so and so. So that dispatching is important, and based on that, the other kingdom can decide what to do about it, right? So here we need to dispatch the actions explicitly. Then only your Redux will listen to those. If we just directly call add to cart, nothing will happen. Okay. All right. Just let's see if things are working. So now you see, with only few changes in our code, we very easily migrated from context to Redux. My God, 150 messages already. Just trying to look at the questions. Was this clear, guys? If you at least you got some idea, like how Redux is different from context API. What is changing here? Okay. All right. I'm just looking at some of the question. Please provide the code without Redux, please, because see, again, your guys are focusing on the syntax, right? That Redux is difficult, React is difficult. Is the concept clear? That is what you should focus on, because code, syntax, everything you'll get from internet. Correct? Concept is king. Yes, Venkat, that's right. Right? So, if you, as I was explaining in the diagram, right? From my UI, I am dispatching an event, passing the product. This goes to the store. The action comes to the reducer, and this reducer now knows that when my add to cart action comes, then how do I update my state? The other advantage that you see here, guys, is we can update the state directly. We don't need to clone and do all of this, because this library does that for us behind the scene. Alright, so this was in short what I could talk to you about Redux. The extension that I'm using for autocomplete is GitHub Copilot. Backend also. Okay. Oh my, you guys are not done, is it? I thought you guys would be overwhelmed. Backend is very simple. 5 minutes. Backend, focus. how, say if you're posting again and again, right? How React compute the most efficient way of manipulating the real DOM whenever there's a change in state. For every state change, React would re-render. That is where the virtual DOM comes, right? Ankit, if you remember, whenever we are updating a state, what is React doing is it has the snapshot of the DOM. Then there was a state update that happened. It created another copy of your DOM. Another two versions, basically two snapshots of your DOM. It now compared what is changing here. Do I need to add a color? Do I need to add another div? Do I need to remove this div? And based on that differences, it combines all those changes and interacts with the DOM, real DOM at one go. Alright, chalo backend you guys wanted very quickly. See my backend code. Nothing fancy, guys. I think I just created one file for this. You need Express, install the Express package. You need CORS package again because we are doing a cross origin request. This backend is running on a different port, right? And my front end is running on a different port. So whenever your port number, your domain, anything changes, basically that becomes a different origin. So since my request to this server is coming from a different origin, I need a CORS package. I initiated my Express application. Using this app.use, I am enabling for every request this CORS to be executed. Very simple what I'm doing. Whenever my request comes for a URL which looks like this, /product/categories, right? If you remember, in my header, I was calling a URL like this, /product/categories. So what my, where did that go? So whenever I'm getting a request like this, I'm just returning a response in a JSON format, whatever I need. You could have connected to a database also. It was possible to use Mongoose, MongoDB, right? You could have done that, but since I just needed some smaller data, I am doing it right. If you want to connect to MongoDB, there is definitely a way to kind of do that as well. Okay. Coming back. So if I need something like, if I want products for electronics, you see I have added a set timeout so that I can simulate a delay. Okay. If I want jewelry, all my jewelry JSON, if I want my clothing, very simple one file backend for this project. How to connect? So we already showed, right? So I am running my backend on this particular. Basically, I am running this here like this. I came to my backend folder and npm start. So my backend started and server started. And now all I need to do is from my front end. Where is that? Where did we go? In the header, right? From my front end, I'm just hitting the endpoint, okay, and passing the URL. Cool. So that is all, guys. How to connect to DB? We can continue this. That is beyond the scope of today's class, unfortunately, guys. I think we have already crossed the time limit. Okay. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your participation. Loved your energy. Loved your participation. Any last minute discussion, Swarna, that we want to do?
I believe we are done for today, Ayush. Like mostly in terms of all the things that you wanted to share for this.
Hello. Thank you. Some of the learners are not able to download certificates. I mean, you can check on that.
Yeah, I will just help the learners when it comes to the certificates and everything.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your energy, participation. Thank you for your interaction. So, right. Take care. Good care. Good night. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks, Swarna, for managing and coordinating nicely.
Pleasure having you, Ayush, as always. Yeah.
Okay. Take care, guys. Good night. Bye-bye. Happy Republic Day.
Cool. Awesome. So, guys, first of all, don't worry. You will be able to download the certificate because you are still in the masterclass. You won't be able to download the certificate, right? So, just be patient a little bit more. Once the masterclass ends, you will be able to download the certificate on the same link that I've attached on the pin section. Let me just pin it right away. once again. So just click on this link right after the masterclass ends. You will be able to download the certificate. Janish, please don't spam. It's totally understandable. I've already told you multiple times that just wait for a few moments. Once the masterclass ends, you'll be able to download the certificate. Now, let me also share the resources with all of you for the last time. So there's a free class coming in for Anshuman Singh, just reiterating the fact. This is a very short and simple session wherein we will try to address as many questions as possible. The topic will be mostly about, for example, how to present yourself in terms of the top tech companies, how to work on your resumes, how to target those top tech companies, how to prepare yourself for those interviews, right? So these are some of the things that we'll try to cover in terms of the agenda part. This is a very short and dynamic session consisting of very less number of people, wherein we'll try to address as many questions as possible. That's the whole plan about it. Now, as some of you were mentioning about your lovely feedbacks here, so just take 2 minutes of your time and help us with a valuable feedback through this particular feedback form link that I've shared with all of you, the pin section. Yeah. And last but not least, talking about free resources, let me also share a Scalar Topics channel wherein you can definitely check out some free resources coming from the different instructors here in Scalar, learning about different topics like C++, Python, other aspects. So just go for it right away. Cool. It will be visible, permanent in that particular link itself once you register. Now, as for the last time, for the people who are mentioning that I couldn't connect with Abhinay or I couldn't connect with Ayush, right? In that the PDF that I showed to you. So let me just quickly launch that poll for the final time. If you want to connect with any of those gentlemen for a completely free of cost session, again, reiterating the fact this is a completely free of cost service, wherein Scalar is not even into the picture. You would be connecting with it. Similarly, the Google Meet link, Zoom link, whatever suits you. So that is where we will help you get in touch with those alumni. And you can talk about anything about their salary figures as well, because this particular platform might not be the suitable one. Because being a public platform, it's very difficult to take all those questions, right? So yeah, just click on yes onto this poll for the final time, and you will get in touch shortly within 48 hours, wherein you can address all your concerns regarding your career part, how to tackle all your problems, right, regarding your career aspect. If you're planning to start your career, how to get into such companies and whatnot. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. Now I can still see a lot of questions piled up on the questions tab, around 283 questions, and it's very difficult to address all the questions in this limited time session, right? But yes, we do value all your questions here. So let me just launch the poll for the final time. If any one of you who had missed out in terms of your questions getting addressed from our team itself, just quickly click on yes onto this poll, and our team will get back to you shortly within 48 hours or so. Wherein this is a particular free of cost session. Again, this is not a sales call, wherein we will try to help you in a one-on-one format, talking about your experiences, your aspirations, your current motivation. For example, if you're planning to, coming from a non-technical domain, like how should you be upskilling at this point of time? If you are willing to know more about Scalar, how to get into Scalar, what about the placement data, right? For all those sort of questions, just click on yes onto this poll, and yes, you will get in touch with you within 48 hours or so. Guys, don't worry yet. We will be sharing in the codes, the notes, everything would be shared in the WhatsApp group. If you haven't joined, I will share the WhatsApp group link for the final time. Joining right away after the session ends, we will be sharing in the source code all this notes that Ayush has been talking about. So yeah, the group is okay, right? I have already checked there, so it's completely fine. Just give me a second. So let me just paste the WhatsApp group link for the final time. Just give me a second. Yeah. So jump in right away if you haven't joined the WhatsApp group, so that you're not missing out on any important notes and resources. That everything we will be sharing there. Krishna, again, please do not spam. Just to let you know what to do with the certificate. Yes, you can share the certificate in terms of if you want to connect with your fellow learners, if you want to network like with different learners here in the cross scalar, right? That is how it works. For example, if two people are sharing the same certificate, that's where you can connect with each other, discuss about your thoughts and whatnot. So that is how the certificate would be valuable for you. Again, reacting the fact you would be able to download the certificate after the session is getting ended for all of you. Please just have some patience. You would be able to download the certificate just after the session ends. Let me just check if I'm left out with anything in particular or not. Just give me a second. Just hold on to a sec. Let me just check it for the final time. Cool. I believe we are done with sharing the resources. Unfortunately, Kushi, the recordings would be shared with the only scalar enroll learners only. That is how it goes. Yes. Cool. So on that note, thank you so much, guys, for joining in today's masterclass. I hope it was quite an insightful session for some of you who are joining for the first time. So on that optimistic note, good night, everyone. Have a great week ahead. Stay safe. Bye bye. Cheers.
समय बीता जा रहा है। आधा घंटा रह गया, आधे घंटे में हमने वो पैसे जमा करवा लोगे, पापा जी की जान को खतरा है।